Truth and accountability. I'm a retired Special Operations JTAC, one of the forces who calls in strikes on the battlefield. I've trudged in the mud and the dirt and the mountains, hunting terrorists across 3 nations. I helped establish the first strike cells against ISIS, and I've coordinated thousands of strikes against terrorist targets. I was also, formerly, a senior advisor on targeting and civilian harm mitigation at the Pentagon, and I was well versed on the ongoing targeting operations against the Houthis in Yemen. I can confirm that anything related to these and other such operations is always inherently classified. Any related communications must take place in secured facilities or across government-controlled mediums. Had I ever violated these protocols, or worse, been the cause of disclosure of even vague information about operations, let alone release details about impending strikes like planned targets, weapons, timing, and attack sequencing, I would have immediately been relieved of duty, indicted, and investigated. Anything stated to the contrary is either complete ignorance or a lie. Signal has never been approved for classified and sensitive communications despite statements to the contrary. The information passed over Signal by the Secretary of Defense and the most senior administration officials in our national security apparatus simply should not have been. Even worse was a journalist pulled into the chat and given critical targeting and operational information in real time. There could have been serious consequences had our adversaries intercepted these communications and disclosed it to the Houthis. At a minimum, Houthi leaders could have easily evaded the strikes, forcing a delay on the U.S. military's part or a loss of these critical targets altogether. As we saw many times in the fight against ISIS, civilians could have been intentionally corralled into potential target areas to cause a mass casualty incident and further degrade U.S. credibility and support. And with enough lead time, U.S. or partner aircraft or other assets or personnel could have been targeted by adversary air defense systems. Instead of blasting this journalist who received and reported the breach as scum and a fraudster and gaslighting the American people by referring to the whole event as a hoax, we should be thankful that this journalist had both the ethics and the patriotism to withhold release of the information, which he was so recklessly handed, until he knew there would not be any direct endangerment to the lives of U.S. personnel or to the operations themselves. We already knew that this Secretary of Defense was unfit for the role, not just in his lack of necessary experience, but his very character. He is an extremist. He is a propagandist. He is a bigot. He has a history of hate speech, of severe alcoholism, and allegations of abuse. And his priority, upon taking the helm, was to wage a culture war, attacking both veterans and those in active service, and erasing the legacies of heroes within U.S. military history. His texts over the Signal chat also relay a very childish lack of temperance. While I can state from experience that it's gratifying to take out the bad people who need taken out, and there's always a level of excitement, a warrior must temper their emotions in the moment and act accordingly. The person placed at the helm of the entire U.S. combat force, especially so. Yet his texts read like a child bragging to his friends on the playground after getting a hold of daddy's guns. A total lack of emotional control and professionalism. The Signal communications breach is just one manifestation of Hex's unfitness for the role. With it, he shows that he will not only endanger U.S. troops and operations, but will refuse to hold himself accountable to the very standards that he must hold the force to. And his indignant reaction to the press, to the public, and to congressional inquiry about this breach has only further solidified that he has neither the character nor the temperance to lead the U.S. military, especially during what is among the most dangerous moments for our national security in decades. The American people deserve and demand better. The American people deserve and demand truth and accountability.